Living alone is always a risk. I had just moved to a new city and I was getting used to a new routine. At my old job, I worked from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. and I was luxuriating to a regular 9 to 5 with completely free weekends. One of these weekends started out the worst way I could imagine. I woke up early, as I typically did, a bad habit. I wanted to run in a nearby park, but it was too dark outside. I made coffee, got dressed for my run, and decided to relax on the couch and read until it was light out. Some backstory. This apartment, which I don't live in anymore, was a garden-style apartment on the ground floor of a 4-story townhouse. I had 2 windows facing the street and a patio in front of my door, and 2 steps up to the street from the patio. The city I live in is huge, but my neighborhood was very suburban. Families, homes, versus apartment buildings and businesses, and also schools. Not typically busy at any time of the day, but there was a busy street 4 blocks away. That morning, I lounged with coffee while waiting for the sun to rise. It was a Saturday, so I wasn't shocked when I saw a figure stumbling by the front windows, slowly and swerving. There were a few bars in walking distance. A drunk wasn't a new development. Until he turned around. I guess he was attracted by my illuminated windows or a moving shadow. Minutes later, the shadow trudged down the 2 steps, hesitating at the patio. Then he moved to the window, taking care to slide between the bushes and peer inside. I had curtains on these windows, but they were sheer. I didn't know how much he could see from the outside, but I froze. It seemed like years, but it was probably about 5 minutes. Then he moved toward my door. I had a gate with 2 doors barring this unwanted person from entering, but he wasn't deterred. I heard the front gate open. Although it was locked, it wasn't hard to reach in and unlock it. And then he started jiggling the first doorknob. I should not have been worried. I had 2 doors with 3 locks on each. The knob lock, deadbolt, and jimmy lock. But something about his determination and the darkness of night had me rushing to the back of the apartment. My landlords, who owned the townhouse above me, had a fenced-in garden. I ran out there to call the cops. When I was waiting on the phone with the cops, I almost felt safe, until I heard scratching at the fence and a jiggling of the handle to the garden door. It's about 15 feet tall and would be too difficult to climb. I immediately went inside to find the cops banging at my door. I sent them around to the garden entrance, but they never found the guy, just a dirty screwdriver on the ground. I never got an update, so I assumed this guy was never caught or tried breaking in anywhere else in the neighborhood. But either way, let's not meet.
I'm in foster care, and I recently moved into a nicer neighborhood with big houses and not a lot of traffic. My room is in the basement of the house, and my view is into the backyard. I'm an insomniac, so I'm always up way later than the couple I live with. It was late at night, around 3 a.m., so it was very dark outside, and I was in my room playing the night away on my guitar. A little lamp was on, and I had a window cracked open. I'm not an anxious guy, but for some reason I felt like something was off, like I was being watched. At first, I brushed it off, because the motion-activated light hadn't turned on, and I couldn't see anything or anyone in the thick darkness outside. At some point, I stopped playing and went to take a piss, and as I came back into my room, I noticed that it was way cooler than when I left. Again, I brushed it off, until I saw that my window had been pushed open. There's a security chain on my window, but in my sleep-deprived idiocy, I just wrote it off as my cat coming inside to eat while I went to the bathroom. Before I moved in where I live now, I lived in a seedy, high-crime area, so I'm always hyper-alert at night. I went to take a look just to be safe, and that's when I saw it. There was a person a few meters from my open window. Now, I'm not a big guy, but I've been in a fair share of fistfights and physical arguments, so I wasn't really worried about him fucking me up. He obviously knew I'd spotted him, as he had eye contact before I sprinted for the window. I got there a little before him, but he somehow managed to get his fingers inside before I slammed the window down on them with all my might, hearing a horrible crack as the heavy window hit his hand. He didn't try to retract his hand or say anything at first, but when I cracked it open to do it again, he quickly pulled away and yelped in pain. I secured the windows, and he stood there with his bleeding hand held close to his body with his eyes firmly locked with mine for 10 seconds or so, before he ran off in the direction of the front of the house. I ran upstairs as quickly as I could, but he was nowhere to be seen. I woke up the couple, but not before I checked all the windows and doors, and they called the police while I checked everything again and turned on the lights in the house. The police took swabs of the blood on the window frame, but it didn't match anything in their system. No one went to any hospital in an 100-kilometer radius with matching injuries in the following 5 days. So to this day, I don't know who the fuck tried to break in, or had intentions worse than that, and I also don't know if he's still around. The thing that bothers me the most is that he didn't run away when I first spotted him, and I don't know how long he'd been out there, lurking, spying on me in the darkness. So, creepy garden lurking guy, let's not meet again.
This happened a couple of months ago in February. I'm in northern Jersey, United States, so it gets cold, especially at night. I live on 10 plus acres and a popular trail that goes through the entire northern part of the state. It goes along my property. We can't see the trail from our house, and the trail can't see our house. That all being said, it's a very private place where I live. I'm 21 and female. I work overnight, so I come home when everyone is leaving for work, and I'm home alone until 6 to 7 at night. With the winter, it gets dark at around 5 to 5:30 p.m. So one evening, I'm walking through my kitchen as usual, and I look out to the side of the house that is looking out onto the fields. The side of my house that was facing the fields were all big windows and sliding doors, pretty much a glass house. Anyways, I look out, and less than a quarter of a mile, I see a man walk from one side of our property towards a trail. Wasn't really walking, more like a weird hunched over skipping. I don't know. Thanks to having livestock, we have binoculars handy to check on them, so I grab them and look at this guy. When I get focused on them, he looks directly at me while he's still walking. I'm looking at him at this point too. He's staring back with this creepy fucking grin, and we look at each other until he climbs through the woods and gets to the trail. We're no longer able to see each other. I call my dad, and he says that it may have been a coincidence, and he may truly have just wanted to get to the trail. I brush it off, and I get some more sleep until work. The next day, same time, I see the man. This time, I'm not smack dab in the middle of a huge window. I'm hidden with binoculars, and I focus on him once again, and I jump back, as now, he's just fucking staring right into the binoculars. How the hell did he know where I was? I call my dad again, and he doesn't answer this time. Everything is locked. You're fine. He's on the trail now, I would tell myself. It's now 5. Between the snow on the ground and the clear sky with the sun about to fall, it's still bright in the fields. I walk towards the kitchen, and I see the man. Not walking, but standing this time, staring right at me. Closer to the house than ever before, I'm freaking out, and I'm pissed because I couldn't get the thought into my head that what he was doing was cutting through my private property, and it was a complete violation of our rights. And even now, to just stand there, staring, I can see that fucking grin on his face. Without binoculars, I could see that fucking grin on his face. That is how close this man was. I picked up my cell phone, showed it to him through the window, and dialed 911. He's still standing there. I explain everything to the dispatcher, and as I'm explaining, he is still standing there. Around here, it could easily take a cop over an hour or two to get here. But, luckily for me, there was a patrolman nearby, and only took 15 minutes. The man, still standing, staring, is just staying there. I pointed at the cops coming down the driveway, and the man is just still standing there. He looks at them, turns it back at me, and smiles wider. Fucking towards me, smiling like a crazy man. If you can picture the smiling man from that creepypasta, think about that, but 10 times worse, and something provided by an actual human. I ran towards the door and out to the cop cars. They bolted out of the car and one into my house. 2 goes around the side of the house, and they caught him and arrested him on sight. They said when they found him, he was pressed up against the opposite side of the window that I was originally standing at, still smiling, still standing, and pressing himself against the fucking window. I don't know what came of him, but I do know I won't be seeing him again. Crazy fucking standing man. Don't ever come on my property again.